This is KSUT. Time now for our regional news break. Lawmakers are seeking to rein in prediction market apps because some allow wagering on the outcomes of wildfires. The Mountain West News Bureau's Yvette Fernandez has more.
U.S. senators raised concern that prediction market apps could be a motive for arson. In a letter to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which regulates the apps, they also said, quote, offering bets on destructive wildfires threatens to minimize community suffering. Andrea Desopoulos with the International Gaming Institute in Las Vegas has co-authored studies about gambling and behavior. She says betting on disasters is dehumanizing.
When things are gamified, it does sort of disconnect you from the reality that other people might be experiencing this in a profound, real way. It makes it almost not real. It's just a game, and you just want to win this game.
The senators who signed the letter asked the Commodities Commission if it believes that prediction market app wagers about wildfires are in the public interest. I'm Yvette Fernandez, the Mountain West News Bureau reporter based at KNPR in Las Vegas.
A third-party candidate for the U.S. Senate in Colorado is spending $1 million for a statewide TV ad buy. For the Colorado Capital News Alliance, Benta Birkeland reports.
Bob Chu is running for Senate for the Forward Political Party, a centrist party. Chu says Republicans and Democrats have asked voters to accept a broken status quo, and he wants to tell the truth about hard choices. His campaign says the $1.3 million ad buy will run for 5 weeks on broadcast and cable in Denver and Colorado Springs, as well as digital streaming. It's almost fully funded by Chu. The major party candidates for U.S. Senate are Democratic incumbent John Hickenlooper and Republican state lawmaker Mark Baisley.
That was Benta Birkeland for the Colorado Capital News Alliance. Air operations continue to be disrupted by drones flying over restricted areas near wildfires. As the Mountain West News Bureau's Murphy Woodhouse reports, destructive blazes in eastern Washington state are the latest example of the dangerous trend.
Officials say that on a single day this week, more than 21 drone incursions into a temporary flight restriction area around the devastating Spokane blazes were detected. Brad Keckerts is division chief for uncrewed aircraft systems at the Federal Wildland Fire Service. He talked to the Bureau in general about the risks.
One, it's a risk to the aviation personnel, and then two, it's risk to folks on the ground, both the firefighters and the public, not having the air support that they need in order to suppress that fire.
Through July 20th, officials had logged 19 wildfire drone incursions. There were 53 last year, the highest figure in 4 years of data available. He says federal officials are actively working to better detect drones and find their operators, who could be subject to civil and criminal penalties. I'm Murphy Woodhouse, the Mountain West News Bureau reporter at Boise State Public Radio.
Communities that rely on tourism are trying to squeeze what they still can out of a summer impacted by wildfires and smoke. The Mountain West News Bureau's Rachel Cohen has more.
Businesses in Leadville, a historic mining town in Colorado's mountains, had a tough July. It's typically the biggest tourism month, but the local economic development office estimates there are about 30% fewer visitors. That's because of the nearby Willow Fire, which started in late June and is still burning. Nancy Bailey says some people likely stayed away because of news of pre-evacuation notices and uncertainty about smoke. She owns Leadville Exchange, a high-end consignment store.
It went to zero. There was no one here. It was the weirdest thing to see the avenue empty on 4th of July.
With the fire now mostly contained, summer's last big events are on, like the Leadville 100 bike and running races and a historic festival when Bailey's hosting a fashion show with clothes from her shop. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Rachel Cohen.
The federal government recently awarded a $529 million contract to the private prison company GEO Group to operate a new immigration detention center in Hudson, Colorado. But GEO Group is only one piece of the picture. While the company will operate the facility, another company actually owns the building and stands to profit from the lease. For Rocky Mountain Community Radio, KGNU's Abby O'Brien spoke with reporter Logan Davis, who has written about this in the Colorado Times Times Recorder. His investigation shows that the landlord has ties not only to the detention center, but also to residential properties in the Denver area.
Logan, you've been following sort of the economic transactions associated with this massive immigration crackdown for the past 18 months. Your article is headlined, "ICE's new landlord might be your landlord too," and it calls our attention to the company making money by renting out the building to GEO. Tell us about that company.
Yes, absolutely. We've really tried to follow the profiteering here. I personally suspect that's the sort of thing that won't necessarily age well, or I would hope that it's not the sort of thing that would age well. So whenever there's a new angle of this, we've really been interested in seeing where that money is going. GEO is obviously a big winner here. Their profits went up 700% year over year. And now the acting director of ICE is a former longtime GEO employee. So there's definitely this private sector aspect to all of this. GEO will be opening the Hudson facility, which is owned by a company named Highlands Real Estate Investment Trust, or Highlands REIT. Highlands REIT is based in Illinois, but they have for a number of years owned the facility of the closed Hudson Correctional Center up in northeast of the city. Hudson, I think, has gotten more press as a town from this than it has pretty much anything else combined. So a lot of people don't know where it is because it's about the size of a postage stamp. But it's going up there. Highlands is the company that owns this facility. And for years, since it closed as a prison in 2014, it's just kind of been mothballed. About 6 months ago, GEO got a 6-month contract. About 8 months ago, GEO got a 6-month contract to reopen it. And then that never happened. Now ICE is trying to expand its capacity really quickly. We're in the middle of this 30-day sprint in which they were going to try to bring about 5,000 new detention beds online, and well over 1,000 of those are going to be in Hudson. So the facility is now going to be opening, and this Illinois-based real estate investment trust is going to be making about $11.5 million a year from it.
Say that number again.
$11.5 million. What's interesting about that number, the rent they are charging annually, once the facility is open, the rent that GEO will have to pay Highlands per month, is $958,333.33, which over 12 months adds up to just $4 shy of $11.5 million. It's $11,499,996. So it's very close.
So when we talk about real estate companies benefiting from this immigration crackdown, you make the point that Highlands REIT might be your landlord, listener listening right now. It owns several apartment buildings in Denver. Tell us about Highlands REIT's role as the owner of residential places, apartment buildings that might be in our neighborhoods.
Absolutely. They own 8 residential buildings in Denver. They have some other subsidiaries that own a few in other states. But their holdings here are concentrated in Denver. They're all held through different LLCs, so nobody's lease really says Highlands Real Estate Investment Trust. It'll say things like Champa Street Lofts LLC. They have a few of these on Champa Street downtown, some loft properties. There's 2 more on Detroit over near East High School. There's the Kenilworth Courts at like 16th and Downing. Innocent 44 in Northwest Denver, and a couple others scattered around. And what's interesting is a lot of these have quite bad reviews, which was something that jumped out at me as I was looking into this. When you look into the reviews of these buildings, a lot of the reasonable complaint, fires, theft, very lax response to needs from the superintendent, all sorts of maintenance stuff. That's stuff that probably realistically falls on property management, not on Highlands REIT, who owns the building. But the fact is that Highlands REIT is paying Cornerstone to manage all of their apartments in Denver, and they don't seem particularly concerned by the fact that these average about 1.8 stars.
Journalist Logan M. Davis, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thank you for having me.